7 signs. People are being totally fake with you. Stoic philosophy. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests. Epictetus. Welcome back to Stoic in Your Life. Have you ever had that feeling that someone in your life is not being their true self around you? In today's video, we're diving into the 7 subtle but powerful signs that someone is being completely fake with you, and how the wisdom of Stoicism can help you navigate through it with grace and clarity. These insights will not only help you spot insincerity, but also allow you to stay calm and centered, no matter how deceiving the situation may seem. As you watch, reflect on the relationships in your own life. How many of these signs have you witnessed? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's dive in. Number 1. Talk behind your back. One of the most painful realizations is discovering that someone you trusted has been talking behind your back. This kind of betrayal cuts deep, shaking your confidence and challenging your trust in others. While it's not always easy to find direct evidence of gossip, subtle cues like forced smiles, insincere interactions, or dismissive tones often hint that someone may not have your best interests at heart. These moments can create a quiet sense of unease, making you question the genuineness of your relationships. But here's where Stoic secrets come into play. Modern Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control what others say or do, we do have complete power over how we respond. Marcus Aurelius, the wise Stoic emperor, once said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." This profound insight reminds us to anchor our peace in our own integrity and not in the opinions of others. When you learn that someone has been speaking poorly of you, it's natural to feel a surge of emotion, anger, sadness, even betrayal. But before reacting impulsively, pause and ask yourself, does this change who I am or affect my true worth? More often than not, the answer is a firm no. People who gossip or speak ill of others are often motivated by insecurity, jealousy, or their own dissatisfaction. Knowing this allows you to detach emotionally from their negativity and refuse to let it erode your self-esteem. It's tempting to confront them immediately, to demand answers or justification, but this approach can sometimes escalate tensions and create more drama than resolution. Instead, assess whether addressing it is worth your peace of mind. If you choose to bring it up, do so with composure and clarity. If not, practice letting it pass, keeping your inner peace intact. Stoic secrets teach us that true resilience lies in the ability to remain calm and composed amid external turbulence. Let me share a story that may sound familiar. A colleague of mine once discovered through mutual friends that a co-worker had been spreading rumors about her at the office. The news stung. She felt blindsided and betrayed. At first, she considered confronting the co-worker to set the record straight, but after reflecting on her actions and turning to Stoic teachings, she decided to respond differently. She focused on her work, maintained her integrity, and continued to treat everyone with respect. Soon enough, those around her saw the truth through her unwavering character. In the end, the co-worker's words lost their weight, and she emerged stronger, her reputation untouched. This experience taught her a vital lesson. Sometimes, maintaining your dignity and composure speaks louder than any words you could say in defense. Think about the times when you felt hurt by gossip. Did reacting with anger or lashing out bring you the peace you sought, or did it fuel the fire? Stoicism invites us to consider our reactions carefully. Marcus Aurelius also said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom encourages us to redirect our energy toward nurturing relationships that are authentic and positive. Instead of wasting time on those who spread negativity, invest in connections with people who uplift and respect you. By choosing where to focus your attention, you not only protect your peace, but also reinforce your inner fortitude. Addressing betrayal, especially when it involves words said behind your back, doesn't mean ignoring it entirely. It's about choosing which battles are worth fighting and which ones are better left behind. If you decide to confront someone, do it thoughtfully, rooted in facts and your own sense of calm. If not, let their words dissipate like smoke, choosing not to let them pollute your inner world. Modern Stoicism reminds us that our true strength comes not from the noise around us, but from the stillness we cultivate within. People will talk, that's a fact of life, but their opinions do not have the power to define you unless you allow them to. Ask yourself, are these opinions a reflection of who I truly am, or of the person who speaks them? By adopting this approach, you can shift your focus from trying to control the uncontrollable to fostering what truly matters: authentic connections and self-respect. When you choose to rise above gossip and negativity, you embody the Stoic spirit, remaining calm, wise, and resilient in the face of trivial distractions. This kind of resilience not only protects your peace, but also sets an example for those around you. It demonstrates that while the world may be filled with noise, your life is guided by a deeper, quieter strength. Prioritize the people and relationships that bring real value into your life. By doing so, you remind yourself that your worth is rooted not in the fleeting words of others, but in your consistent character. And in the end, that's what truly endures. Number 2. Downplay your achievements. A clear sign that someone is being insincere is when they downplay or dismiss your achievements. This behavior can manifest in various forms: a casual remark that minimizes your success, a lack of acknowledgement, or a sarcastic comment that subtly undercuts your hard work. Have you ever shared an achievement you were genuinely proud of, expecting enthusiasm and support, only to be met with indifference or a dismissive, "Oh, that's not such a big deal"? It's disheartening and invalidating, leaving you questioning the authenticity of the relationship. Such responses often come from a place of jealousy or personal insecurity, rather than genuine disinterest. Modern Stoicism offers an essential lesson in these moments. Don't let your sense of self-worth depend on others' reactions. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." This insight reminds us that our pride and satisfaction should stem from within, independent of external validation. When faced with someone who downplays your success, it's crucial to step back and recognize that their reaction speaks more about them than it does about you. People who react this way are often grappling with their own feelings of inadequacy or competitiveness. Understanding this helps you respond with empathy rather than anger or disappointment, preventing their negativity from taking root in your own mind. Modern Stoicism encourages us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts and reactions. Ask yourself, does this change the value of my accomplishment? The answer should be a resounding no. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This reinforces the idea that while external responses can sting, they do not define the true worth of your achievements. However, it's important to notice patterns in your relationships. If someone regularly dismisses your accomplishments or undermines your joy, it may be time to reconsider the energy you devote to that connection. Are they truly supportive, or do they consistently inject negativity? Genuine friends and partners will celebrate your successes and motivate you to keep striving. If a relationship consistently lacks this mutual support, it may not be conducive to your growth. Surrounding yourself with people who share in your joy fosters an environment that helps you thrive and builds your confidence. It's about choosing to nurture connections that uplift, rather than diminish you. Maintaining peace in the face of dismissiveness doesn't mean cutting people off at the first sign of trouble. Rather, it's about discerning who genuinely values your presence and contributions. Modern Stoicism helps you prioritize your well-being by encouraging you to seek relationships that are balanced and authentic. It's not about holding grudges, but about being mindful of who deserves your trust and energy. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Choose to fill your life with people and thoughts that build you up, not those that tear you down. True confidence and contentment come from within. They aren't dependent on the fleeting opinions of others. By focusing on those who genuinely support and uplift you, you create a network that enhances your resilience and growth. Ask yourself, who in my life consistently brings positivity and support? By answering this, you can shift your attention to the relationships that deserve nurturing. This approach ensures that your circle contributes to your happiness and personal development, allowing you to stand firm in your worth, regardless of outside opinions. Life is too precious to spend energy on those who belittle your efforts or accomplishments. Embrace the wisdom of modern Stoicism by anchoring your self-worth in your own perception and choosing relationships that reflect mutual respect and genuine celebration of each other's victories. Surround yourself with those who add value to your life, creating a space where confidence, joy, and growth flourish. Number 3. Show up only when convenient. One of the clearest signs that someone is not sincere in your life is when they only show up when it's convenient for them. This type of person might seem enthusiastic and fully engaged when things are going well, whether it's at a social event, during a fun outing, or when they need your help with something. But when life gets tough or you need support, they suddenly disappear, offering half-hearted excuses or avoiding you altogether. Over time, noticing this pattern can be disheartening and make you feel unsupported, revealing the true nature of the relationship. It's painful to realize that a person you thought was a friend is really just a fair-weather companion, present only for the good times. This is where the insights of Stoic secrets become invaluable, teaching us that not every relationship is meant to endure the storm. Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This idea helps us understand that while we cannot control whether others are genuine, we can control our response to their actions. Think about a time when you faced a challenge and noticed who stepped up and who faded into the background. Those moments can be eye-opening, showing you who is truly in your corner. It's easy to feel angry or betrayed when you notice someone's presence depends on their own convenience, but modern Stoicism encourages a different approach. Instead of dwelling on disappointment, see these moments as opportunities to prioritize your emotional well-being. By recognizing that some people are only around when it suits them, you can adjust your expectations and shift your focus to those who are consistently there, rain or shine. It's not about cutting ties or holding grudges, but rather about choosing wisely where to invest your time and energy. Let's consider a relatable example: a colleague who always joins group lunches and happy hours, but is nowhere to be found when a project becomes stressful or when you need their support. At first, you might brush off their absence, thinking they're just busy, but as the pattern repeats, you realize their commitment is shallow, tied more to moments of ease than to genuine connection. Stoic secrets encourage you to accept these realizations calmly. As Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Understanding this principle allows you to move past the sting of disappointment and recognize that their behavior is not a reflection of your worth but of their priorities. Accepting that not all relationships are built to endure difficulty can be empowering. It helps you make better choices about where to place your trust and emotional energy. Ask yourself, are the people in your life there to celebrate only the highs, or do they stand by you during the lows? True friends and supportive companions aren't just there when it's easy. They're there when it's difficult. Modern Stoicism reminds us that maintaining inner peace means letting go of unrealistic expectations and nurturing relationships that are built on reciprocity and care. By observing who shows up consistently and who only appears when the circumstances suit them, you gain a clearer view of which relationships add real value to your life. This doesn't mean you need to confront or push people away, but it does mean being mindful about where you direct your time and energy. Choosing to surround yourself with those who are genuinely supportive contributes to a sense of stability and emotional well-being. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By focusing on nurturing authentic connections, you reinforce a network of trust and loyalty. In the end, knowing who truly cares for you helps maintain your inner peace and allows you to navigate your social circles with strength and clarity. Modern Stoicism teaches that while life will always include people who are there only when it's convenient, you have the power to decide who deserves a place in your heart and mind. When you shift your focus to those who uplift and support you, you create a circle that enriches your life and fuels your growth. This Stoic approach ensures that your time and energy are well spent on people who bring genuine joy and steadfast support, reinforcing the idea that real relationships are not based on convenience, but on true connection and loyalty. Number 4. Never admit mistakes. One of the clearest signs that someone is not genuine is their unwillingness to admit mistakes. You've likely come across people who, no matter the circumstances, always find a way to justify their actions or shift blame. Maybe they say, "It's not my fault, if only they hadn't done X," or twist situations to make themselves appear faultless. This behavior can be frustrating and signals a deeper issue, a lack of maturity and integrity. When someone refuses to take responsibility, it erodes trust, leaving you to wonder if they care more about their image than the relationship itself. In any meaningful connection, saying, "I was wrong," or "I made a mistake," is crucial. Admitting faults is not a sign of weakness but shows strength and a willingness to grow. Without this, trust weakens and real growth stalls. Modern Stoicism, with its focus on self-awareness, teaches us that while we can't control others' behavior, we can control how we respond. Epictetus summed it up best. "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This reminds us to pause and think about how much energy to give to those who won't take accountability. Consider how it feels to be in any relationship, be it with a friend, colleague, or family member, where the other person never admits their mistakes. Does it create an open environment for honest dialogue, or does it lead to frustration and distrust? Most would say the latter. If someone refuses to be accountable, it closes the door to true communication and resolution, leaving you disillusioned. Modern Stoicism invites us to recognize such patterns and accept that while we cannot change others, we can decide how to react. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that while you can't force someone to take responsibility, you do have the power to choose how you engage with them and what that relationship means for you. Let me share an example. My friend Emma worked on a big project with a colleague who never admitted fault, no matter how clear the mistake. While Emma always took ownership of her errors and aimed to improve, her colleague would deflect blame and make excuses. This created an unfair, toxic dynamic that wore Emma down and eroded her trust. Inspired by Stoic secrets, Emma chose to change her approach. She couldn't control him, but she could set boundaries, manage her expectations, and limit how often she worked with him. This shift protected her peace of mind and allowed her to focus on more supportive relationships. How should you handle someone who won't admit they're wrong? Start by recognizing that their behavior reflects more on them than on you. People who fear admitting mistakes often equate vulnerability with weakness, but in reality, it shows emotional strength. Modern Stoicism encourages us not to let such shortcomings disturb our peace. Ask yourself, is this person's inability to take responsibility affecting my well-being? If the answer is yes, then it's time to adjust your expectations and limit your emotional investment. Epictetus reminded us, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. By doing this, you take back control of your emotional space. Assessing the patterns in your relationships is important. If someone constantly avoids accountability, it signals that the relationship may lack the honesty and respect needed to thrive. This doesn't mean cutting ties at the first sign of defensiveness, as everyone struggles at times. But if it's a constant issue, reassess whether the connection supports your well-being. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Choose to surround yourself with those who value personal growth and honesty, as this will help you build a more balanced and supportive circle. If you feel that addressing the issue is necessary, do so thoughtfully. A direct confrontation can escalate tensions, so approach it with care. Explain how their behavior affects you and the relationship, focusing on your feelings rather than blaming them. But if the conversation doesn't lead to change, set clear boundaries. Protecting your peace sometimes means stepping back from someone who refuses to be accountable. Align yourself with those who acknowledge their mistakes and learn from them. These are the connections that foster trust and mutual growth. When someone admits their mistakes, it deepens your relationship and demonstrates commitment to improvement. Remember, Stoic secrets teach us that while we can't control others, our choices shape our experiences. Recognizing when someone constantly avoids accountability empowers you to decide who deserves your energy and trust. This doesn't mean shutting people out, but approaching relationships with intention and awareness. Protect your emotional well-being by fostering connections that are honest and supportive. By doing so, you strengthen your resilience and create a life rooted in trust, sincerity, and growth. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever encountered someone who offered empty compliments or exaggerated praise? If you have, it's easy to recognize that it's all about manipulation. Just like Seneca said, flattery is a form of deception. Drop a comment below and share your experience with us. How did you handle it? For example, you could say, "I noticed it right away and didn't let it affect me." Let's discuss. Number 5. Constantly seek validation. One of the most telling signs that someone is being fake with you is their constant need for validation. It's easy to spot. They're always looking for praise, fishing for compliments, or dropping hints to make sure you notice their achievements. You might hear them say things like, "Did you see how well I did on that project?" Or, "I worked so hard on this, don't you think I deserve some recognition?" These individuals seem more interested in how they're perceived than in forming genuine, authentic connections with others. At their core, they're seeking external validation because they don't have the inner strength or self-assurance to value themselves for who they truly are. Their confidence isn't grounded in a solid sense of self. It's built on the approval of others, making them vulnerable to the whims of public opinion. When we look at it through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we see that the need for constant validation is a sign of weakness. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, famously tells us, "Don't waste time on what is beyond your control," and seeking validation from others is exactly that. It's beyond your control. You can't control how people view you, and when your sense of worth depends on their approval, you become a slave to their opinions, constantly changing who you are to fit what others expect of you. This kind of behavior can turn a person into a performer, always adjusting their persona for the audience, but never showing their true self. We've all met people who seem to constantly play a part, never quite revealing their real thoughts or feelings. They're the ones who, no matter what they do, need someone else to reflect back their success or value. It's as if they can't feel good about themselves unless others are cheering them on, and they need to hear that they're doing well at every turn. But this isn't how the Stoics believed we should live. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within. The Stoics believed that real validation comes from doing what is virtuous and true, regardless of external opinions. It's about living according to your own values, not chasing praise or approval from others. When we rely on external validation, we risk losing sight of who we truly are. We become a version of ourselves that is shaped more by the desires of others than by our own inner compass. If you find yourself surrounded by people who constantly seek validation, it's essential to recognize their behavior for what it is, an attempt to mask deeper insecurities. Their outward success or charm may be nothing more than a facade. But here's the thing. The Stoic response to this is simple. Stay grounded in your own values. Don't let the need for approval dictate your actions. You don't need others to tell you that you're worthy or successful. Your worth is inherent. It's not contingent on someone else's opinion of you. If someone is constantly fishing for compliments or seeking validation, you can choose to not feed into it. Recognize that their need for affirmation is a sign that they don't yet know how to validate themselves. And in your interactions, instead of falling into the trap of offering shallow praise, offer sincere feedback that encourages growth and self-reflection. After all, true growth comes from within, not from the applause of others. Number 6. Overly dramatic reactions. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone reacts to something minor with extreme emotion? Maybe they burst into tears over a small misunderstanding, or explode in anger over a little mistake. Perhaps they suddenly become overly concerned or empathetic when it's not warranted. It's a behavior that's hard to ignore, and often you can't help but wonder if their reaction is genuine or just a dramatic performance. If this resonates with you, you might be dealing with someone who is faking their authenticity, using exaggerated emotions to control how others perceive them. As humans, we all experience emotions. It's a natural part of life. But there's a fine line between expressing genuine feelings and using emotional outbursts as a tool for manipulation. This is where Stoicism offers profound insight. The Stoic philosophers believed that while emotions are natural, we must not let them rule our actions. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic minds, once said, "We are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them." This quote reminds us that our emotional responses are within our control. What truly matters is how we choose to react. When someone's reactions are constantly overblown, it's often a sign that they're trying to shape how others perceive them, rather than being true to their own emotions. Think about it. A person who is perpetually seeking attention through dramatic displays may be trying to manipulate the situation, to draw sympathy, or to create an emotional bond that isn't truly based on the depth of the relationship. These exaggerated reactions can feel like a performance, where the person is more concerned with being seen in a particular light than with expressing their genuine feelings. Their outbursts might not even match the situation at hand, but they know that by exaggerating their emotions, they can gain control over how others view them. The Stoics would argue that this is a sign of weakness. They believed that true strength lies in mastering our emotions and responding with reason, not being controlled by our impulses. Marcus Aurelius, another key Stoic, emphasized the importance of maintaining emotional equilibrium, writing in Meditations. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When someone is constantly overreacting, they are likely not practicing this level of self-mastery. Instead, they're relying on a volatile mix of emotions to manipulate their environment. Think about how you feel when you encounter someone who overreacts in this way. Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Maybe even a little suspicious? It's hard to trust someone whose emotional responses feel like they're being carefully orchestrated for a particular effect. And here's where the Stoic wisdom comes in. By learning to respond to situations with calm and reason, we not only protect our inner peace, but we also show others the power of emotional self-control. We don't let the drama of others sway us or make us lose our balance. We remain grounded in our own values and sense of self. Imagine you're at work, and a colleague suddenly bursts into tears after receiving constructive criticism, even though their work performance wasn't ideal. While it's perfectly human to feel upset, the emotional explosion seems disproportionate to the situation. In this case, their dramatic reaction could be an attempt to draw sympathy or deflect from their own accountability. Rather than getting caught up in their emotional wave, you, as a Stoic, would step back, breathe, and evaluate the situation calmly. You recognize that their emotions are theirs to manage, and you don't have to react in kind. You might even offer a balanced response, showing empathy without being swept away by the drama. This is a powerful way to deal with people who are faking their authenticity through dramatic reactions. By staying calm and centered, you don't just protect yourself from being manipulated, you also demonstrate the strength of living in alignment with your values. The Stoics weren't cold or unfeeling. They understood that emotions, when properly managed, could help guide us toward wisdom. But they also knew that when emotions are allowed to dominate, they cloud our judgment and push us away from living with virtue. True emotional strength comes from being able to experience life's ups and downs without losing our composure and without resorting to emotional theatrics to manipulate the situation. The next time you face someone who is caught up in dramatic emotions, respond with equanimity. Remain calm, grounded, and centered, and you'll not only preserve your own peace but also expose the falseness of their emotional displays. It's a practice that will strengthen your resilience and help you navigate the complexities of relationships without being swayed by the drama of others. Remember, true strength lies not in reacting to every emotional surge, but in choosing how to respond with wisdom and self-control. Number 7. Offer empty compliments. One of the more subtle yet unmistakable signs that someone is being fake with you is their tendency to offer compliments that feel hollow, exaggerated, or insincere. These individuals often throw around praise that feels like it's been rehearsed, like, "You're the best at everything," or "You always have the perfect answers." But deep down, you sense that their words don't really reflect true admiration or appreciation. Instead, they seem calculated, as if they're trying to manipulate how you perceive them. These kinds of compliments aren't about genuinely recognizing your value. They're about crafting a narrative that puts them in a favorable light. What's worse, you can tell that their praise is only skin deep. It lacks any real substance. In fact, it feels more like a performance than an authentic connection. The Stoics would view this type of behavior as flattery, which, as Seneca warns, flattery is a form of deception. He's telling us that flattery is often used with an agenda, to gain favor, manipulate the situation, or secure some personal benefit. It's a form of deception that can make you feel good in the moment, but leaves you questioning its sincerity in the long run. In the modern world, we see this play out in countless situations, from workplace dynamics, where people use flattery to climb the social ladder, to friendships where people use insincere praise to win favor or avoid conflict. The Stoic approach to compliments is grounded in honesty and integrity. True compliments come from a place of respect, understanding, and genuine appreciation. The Stoics were clear. Don't flatter people and don't be fooled by flattery. True recognition of someone's worth isn't about inflating their ego. It's about acknowledging their virtues, the qualities that truly define them, and offering praise when it is deserved, not when it serves a hidden purpose. When you find yourself on the receiving end of insincere compliments, the Stoic way would be to stay grounded, unaffected by their empty praise. Instead of letting their exaggerated words affect your mood or sense of self, recognize that your worth isn't tied to their opinion. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The opinion of others is not your concern." True value comes from your internal virtues, from the actions you take every day that align with your values and principles. When you encounter someone offering an insincere compliment, acknowledge it for what it is, a tool for manipulation. You don't need to return the favor or seek validation from them. Instead, focus on strengthening your own character, for it's the cultivation of your virtues that truly define your worth, not the superficial praise of others. It's a lesson in emotional resilience and self-mastery, understanding that no matter how others try to shape their image in your eyes, it's your internal strength and authenticity that will keep you grounded. 10 smart ways to deal with the most toxic people. 1. Eliminate and assess. Dealing with toxic people in our lives is one of the most challenging yet crucial skills to master. Toxic individuals have a way of draining your energy, creating chaos, and leaving you in a constant state of confusion and frustration. The reality is, many of these people thrive on the disruption they cause, often using your emotions as their playground. When you find yourself justifying their actions or making excuses for their hurtful behavior, it's a clear sign they have too much influence over you. You might even catch yourself rationalizing their actions, thinking they'll change or that they didn't mean it. You don't need to keep toxic people around just because you feel obligated or because they've been in your life for a long time. If someone is a sociopath, which while rare affects around 4% of the population, or a narcissist who thrives on manipulating others for their own gain, it might be time to cut them off. You may care about them, but their needs will always come first in their mind, and to them, you are simply a tool to meet those needs. They don't see you as a person. They see you as an instrument to fulfill their desires. If this person has to remain in your life for practical reasons, such as work or family, you need to assess their role carefully. Can you limit your contact with them? Can you set boundaries around when and how you interact with them? Can you keep the conversation neutral and avoid discussing emotional matters that they might twist or manipulate to their advantage? Think about the last time you allowed someone toxic to take up your energy. Did you feel drained afterward? Or even worse, did you feel as though you were walking on eggshells, wondering what mood they would be in today? Toxic people often don't give us the space to be ourselves. Instead, they draw us into their drama and chaos. The most powerful lesson here is that you have the right to protect your mental peace. You are not obligated to tolerate toxic behaviors no matter the relationship. And the first step to doing that is assessing whether a person is adding value to your life or just draining it. If someone is causing harm, it's time to distance yourself, whether that means cutting them off completely or creating strong boundaries to protect yourself. Remember, you have the power to decide who gets access to your energy. When you eliminate toxic influences, you give yourself the space to grow, to thrive, and to live your best life. Now think about the people in your life who truly supports you, who encourages your growth and well-being, and who constantly pulls you down, making you feel exhausted or worse about yourself. The key to overcoming toxicity is realizing that your peace and well-being are more important than holding on to relationships that do not serve you. We are all worthy of respect and kindness, and you don't have to put up with anything less. Don't let anyone's toxicity overshadow your life. You deserve a life filled with peace, joy, and people who bring out the best in you. So take a moment to assess your relationships, set those boundaries, and don't hesitate to eliminate what no longer serves you. 2. Don't ignore bad behavior. When dealing with toxic people, one of the most common mistakes we make is ignoring bad behavior in an attempt to avoid conflict. It's easy to fall into this trap, isn't it? You may think, if I just let it slide this time, maybe it'll get better. Or, I don't want to cause a scene, so I'll just keep quiet. But here's the thing. By overlooking toxic behavior, you're allowing it to continue and even grow. This doesn't just harm you, but it can affect others around you too. The sad truth is, some people are completely unaware of the damage they're causing because they don't see things from your perspective. But that doesn't mean you should ignore it. In fact, one of the most powerful tools you have in handling toxic people is your ability to express your thoughts clearly and directly. Remember the words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You have the power to choose your response, and sometimes that response is to speak up. Now, I know it's not easy to confront someone about their behavior. It can feel uncomfortable, especially if they are unaware of how their actions are impacting you or others. But think for a moment. When you ignore these behaviors, you're allowing them to perpetuate. What kind of message are you sending to them by staying silent? Are you letting them think their behavior is acceptable? Are you giving them permission to continue treating you poorly? The truth is, many toxic people don't realize the harm they cause because no one has ever taken the time to show them the impact of their actions. But you can change that. By speaking up, kindly but firmly, you help them see things from a new perspective. You don't have to be confrontational or aggressive, but you do need to be direct. Phrases like, "Do you realize that your actions are causing me stress?" Or, "Are you aware that what you're doing is hurting others?" can go a long way in making them pause and reflect. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, your words will spark some self-awareness in them. It's important to remember that this isn't just about you. When you take a stand, you're not only advocating for your own well-being, but also helping those who might be too afraid to speak up. You might be their voice when they don't have one. At the same time, it's essential to approach the situation with kindness and empathy. You're not attacking them or trying to put them down. Rather, you're giving them the opportunity to grow. Maybe they don't even realize the weight of their actions. Sometimes, a simple, honest conversation can be the wake-up call they need. But if they dismiss your concerns, it's important to evaluate whether this is someone you want in your life. If they aren't willing to change or at least acknowledge their behavior, you must protect your peace and consider how much time and energy you're willing to invest in that relationship. Ultimately, the message here is clear. Don't ignore bad behavior. It may seem easier in the short term, but in the long run, it only creates more stress, resentment, and confusion. By expressing your thoughts clearly and with kindness, you not only stand up for yourself but also set a standard for how others should treat you. And just like the Stoic philosopher Seneca reminds us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The anxiety we often feel about confrontation is often worse than the actual confrontation itself. 3. Seek advice or confide in friends. Handling toxic people can often feel like a battle you need to fight alone, but the truth is, it's rarely effective to try to tackle everything on your own. When emotions run high and frustration builds up, it's easy to think that no one can understand the full scope of the situation. But seeking advice or confiding in trusted friends or family members can make a world of difference. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This is a powerful reminder that our thoughts can amplify problems, but the perspective of someone outside the situation can provide much-needed clarity. People in your support system, those who know you well, can spot the gaps in your logic or the biases clouding your judgment. They offer a perspective that isn't influenced by the emotions you're feeling at the moment. Sometimes all it takes is a fresh viewpoint to help you see things more clearly, without the haze of frustration or anger. These individuals care about you, and while their reactions might be intense, especially when they see you being hurt by someone toxic, their emotions are often driven by love and protection. They may be angrier than you are, wanting to defend you or protect your peace. But even though their advice may come from a place of heightened emotion, it's still valuable. Why? Because it comes from a desire to see you thrive, not just survive. It's important to note that seeking advice doesn't mean you should follow every word of it blindly. People who love us deeply can be protective to the point of offering advice that might not always be the most practical or wise. They may want to see us take drastic action against the toxic person in our life, but not all actions will lead to the desired outcome. Sometimes their anger can cloud their judgment, but their willingness to stand up for you speaks volumes. In those moments, it's crucial to take a step back and evaluate their suggestions with a clear mind. They may be seeing things from an emotional standpoint, and their perspective may be more protective than practical, but there's still wisdom to be gained in hearing them out. After all, these are the people who have your best interests at heart, and by listening you allow yourself the opportunity to understand the situation from all sides. In the hustle of modern life, with work, family, and personal responsibilities piling up, we often feel like we have to take everything on ourselves, thinking we should handle challenges without burdening others. But the reality is, we all need a support system, someone to lean on when we're facing toxic behavior. These people can offer the much-needed external perspective that we can't always see when we're too close to the problem. They act as a mirror, reflecting back to us what we might be missing. The danger in isolating ourselves is that we can become overwhelmed, making rash decisions or feeling hopeless. But with the advice and support of others, you're not just tackling the problem on your own. You're leveraging the strength of your entire network, something that's often overlooked. By reaching out, you are embracing a wisdom that transcends individual experience, drawing from the collective knowledge and care of those who have walked with you through thick and thin. 4. Set boundaries and establish guardrails. Setting boundaries with toxic people is not just important, it's essential to protect your mental and emotional well-being. We all know what it feels like to be stuck in a situation where someone's negative behavior seems unrelenting, whether it's at work, in your family, or even among friends. It's easy to feel like you're powerless in these situations, thinking that nothing will ever change and that you just have to endure the chaos. But the truth is, while you can't control how others behave or whether they change, you do have the power to control how they treat you. It's about setting clear boundaries and establishing guardrails to protect your peace of mind. This might sound simple, but the implementation is key. You don't need to be confrontational, but you do need to be firm. For those who thrive on passive-aggressive behavior, grumbling, making snide comments, or taking their frustrations out on others, don't let them off the hook. Instead, ask probing questions to get to the heart of the issue. What's really bothering you? Or, is there something that I'm unaware of? These kinds of questions can help uncover what's actually at the root of their behavior, and it gives you an opportunity to address the issue directly rather than letting it fester. But here's an important distinction to keep in mind. Venting is a normal, healthy way to release stress. Don't confuse a friend sharing their feelings with someone who is just seeking attention. Venting in a trusted space helps people process their emotions, but when someone is only looking for a sounding board to feed their negativity, that's when boundaries need to come into play. It's about recognizing the difference between healthy emotional expression and toxic behavior that drains you. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we need to handle everything ourselves. But the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." Setting boundaries is your way of choosing how you respond to toxic behavior. It's your way of taking control of the situation, not by changing the person, but by changing how much of their negativity you allow into your life. 5. Value self-awareness. Understanding the power of self-awareness is a game-changer when dealing with toxic people. The truth is, no matter how much we want to help or change someone, we can't control their behavior. But we can control how we respond. One of the most important skills in navigating difficult relationships is knowing your own limits. Smart individuals, whether in personal or professional settings, recognize when they've reached their emotional capacity. They know when to step back and take a break before they say or do something they might regret. This isn't just about controlling your reactions, it's about preserving your peace and sanity. It's about taking a moment to pause, breathe, and assess the situation. Self-awareness goes hand in hand with emotional intelligence. Highly aware individuals understand their emotions, how to identify them, and how to manage them. When dealing with someone toxic, it's easy to get swept up in their drama or feel manipulated by their actions. But if you're self-aware, you'll recognize the signs early. You'll be able to say to yourself, "This situation is making me angry," or "I'm feeling overwhelmed right now." Acknowledging these emotions in real time allows you to step outside of them and make a more rational, deliberate decision on how to respond. This emotional clarity is powerful because it prevents you from reacting impulsively and making decisions that are driven by frustration or hurt. Even highly successful people, those who seem to have mastered the art of neutralizing toxic people, still face challenges. Think about a high-level executive who deals with difficult personalities daily. They have systems in place, strategies for conflict resolution, and a high tolerance for stress, but they also know when they need to take a step back. They understand that they are human too, and sometimes the best way to handle a toxic situation is to walk away temporarily. This is an essential lesson that we can all apply. No matter how much control we think we have over a situation, there are moments when we need to step back, recharge, and return with a clearer mind. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you are constantly reacting to others' toxic behavior, you are allowing their negativity to dictate your emotional state. But when you practice self-awareness, you're taking back that control. You're deciding what kind of emotional energy you will allow into your life, and you're protecting your peace in the process. Now here's something to consider. What would it look like if you started valuing your own emotional boundaries as much as you value your time or your work? How might it change your response to toxic people in your life? It might not be easy to say no or take a break, especially when you feel compelled to fix things or help others. But putting your own emotional health first is not selfish. It's necessary. 6. Become thick-skinned. Building thick skin is one of those ideas that might seem controversial at first glance, but when you really think about it, it's a powerful tool for navigating the harsh realities of dealing with toxic people. It's not about becoming emotionally numb or shutting down. It's about learning how to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity. Think about it. Toxic people, whether they're chronic complainers, manipulative, or just plain cruel, can hit you with sharp words, passive-aggressive behavior, or attempts to undermine you. For someone without thick skin, these attacks can feel personal, and they might shake you to your core. But someone with thick skin has learned not to internalize these attacks. They know that when a toxic person hurls criticism or negativity their way, it's more about that person's issues than it is about them. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The real power lies not in preventing hurtful things from happening, but in how you handle them when they do. Now, this isn't to say that you should ignore or dismiss everything that comes your way, but it's about building a filter, something that allows you to discern which criticisms are worth your attention and which are just noise meant to drag you down. People with thick skin can hear harsh words without letting them wound their sense of self-worth. They've learned to pick and choose what to take to heart and what to let go. It's an incredible skill because, in the end, the cruelty of toxic people doesn't define who you are. It only says something about them. They might try to undermine your confidence or provoke a reaction, but someone with thick skin knows not to play into their game. Instead of reacting defensively or getting emotionally involved, they keep their composure, recognizing that staying calm is often the most powerful response. However, there's a fine line here, and this is where balance becomes crucial. Being too thick-skinned can lead to emotional detachment, where you ignore genuine concerns or stop caring about the feelings of others altogether. In these cases, people might start to see you as aloof or indifferent, and you could miss important signals that someone genuinely needs your help or feedback. So, while it's valuable to not take everything personally, it's equally important to remain sensitive to the world around you, especially with people who aren't toxic but who genuinely care about your well-being. In today's world where you're constantly exposed to stress, criticism, and negativity, whether online or in person, it's easy to get overwhelmed. But think about the people who have learned how to handle these pressures gracefully. They have a sense of emotional resilience that allows them to walk through the storm without being shaken by every gust of wind. Building thick skin isn't about rejecting emotions. It's about understanding them, managing them, and not allowing them to rule your life. This balance between having thick skin and being emotionally aware is essential in protecting your peace while also staying open to healthy, constructive criticism. It's about knowing when to stand firm and when to listen, when to shut out the noise, and when to be vulnerable enough to understand your own emotions. The goal is not to become impervious to the world around you, but to be strong enough to face the world with clarity and resilience. 7. Ask questions, listen, and wait. As we navigate through life, dealing with toxic people can feel like an inevitable challenge, but there's a powerful tool that can help you turn the tables: asking questions, listening, and waiting. This might sound simple, but it's an art form that takes practice and skill to execute effectively. Think about it. When toxic people attempt to manipulate or control a situation, They often rely on emotional reactions, distortions, or misleading narratives. However, when you respond with strategic questions, you force them to confront their own words and logic, often leading them to reveal their true motives. In fact, as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This principle is crucial when dealing with toxic people. It's not about speaking louder or more forcefully. It's about asking the right questions that make them rethink their actions. Consider this real-life scenario. You're in a meeting with a colleague who's always negative, constantly criticizing ideas, but never offering solutions. Instead of directly confronting their negativity or letting it rattle you, you could ask, "You seem worried about the direction we're taking. What's your vision for where we should go?" Or, "I hear your concerns, but what do you think would work better?" These questions aren't attacks. They're invitations for them to share their perspective, which can often make them realize that their words don't align with any productive solution. Toxic people, when forced to defend their position, often end up digging themselves into a hole with their own inconsistencies. This approach puts you in control without escalating conflict, allowing you to remain calm and composed. What makes this strategy so effective is that it places truth and logic above emotions, 2 things that toxic individuals often avoid. Emotions are subjective and can be easily manipulated, but truth is a solid foundation that's difficult to challenge. When you ask the right questions, you force the toxic person to confront the reality of their behavior, and they're often left with no good answers. This method works because it shifts the power dynamics. Rather than simply reacting to their behavior, you make them confront their own actions, which is far more effective than trying to change their mindset directly. But it's important to remember that the goal here isn't to belittle or win the argument. It's about respect for yourself and for the process. As you ask these probing questions, you demonstrate your ability to stay calm and focused, showing that you won't be easily swayed by emotional manipulation. You earn respect not by force, but by keeping your dignity intact and using wisdom to navigate the situation. It's also important to remember that just because someone wrongs you doesn't mean you have the right to wrong them in return. This isn't about creating more conflict or escalating the situation. Instead, it's about maintaining your integrity and ensuring that your interactions with toxic individuals remain respectful, even as you stand firm. The power of asking questions and waiting for a response is that it allows you to remain in control, but in a way that encourages self-reflection in the other person, not defensiveness. 8. Fight only when it's right. Dealing with toxic people is one of life's toughest challenges, but the key is knowing when to fight and when to step back. In most situations, engaging with toxic individuals isn't worth your time or energy. In fact, it can often be a trap, where you're pulled into their chaotic world and forced to fight on their terms. However, there are moments when it's necessary to stand your ground, to put someone in their place before their negativity spreads to others. The key here is to be mindful of your instincts. Your brain's fight or flight response is powerful, and if you're not careful, it can push you to react impulsively without thinking through the consequences. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." In other words, to deal with toxic people effectively, you must resist the urge to react immediately and instead choose the path that aligns with your values, grounded in truth and logic. When you're dealing with someone who is constantly trying to provoke or manipulate you, your emotions can easily take over. It's natural to want to defend yourself, but reacting purely out of emotion often results in regret. Instead, take a moment to observe how you feel and why. What is it that's truly bothering you? Is this worth engaging in a fight? If you react out of anger or frustration, you're playing into the hands of the toxic person, who likely thrives on stirring up conflict. So, the first step is to pause. Don't let your emotions lead you into a confrontation that won't help anyone, least of all yourself. Remember that toxic people often seek attention, and by engaging with them on their terms, you're just feeding their need for chaos. Instead of reacting immediately, ask yourself, what's the best course of action here? Is this battle worth fighting? There's an immense amount of power in remaining calm, grounded, and clear-headed, even when others are trying to drag you into their mess. Think of it as a chess game. One move wrong, and you've lost your position. By staying rooted in truth and logic, you can diffuse the situation without lowering yourself to their level. Toxic people are often skilled at manipulating emotions, but they have a harder time handling calm, rational responses. By showing restraint, you're not only preserving your peace, but also demonstrating your strength of character. This approach can be applied to many situations, whether with family, friends, or colleagues. The goal isn't to avoid conflict at all costs, but to make sure that any confrontation you engage in is meaningful and productive. In some cases, standing up for yourself is necessary, but it should always be done with intention, not out of reaction. Ask yourself, what am I hoping to achieve? If your goal is peace and resolution, then a calm, logical response is often your most powerful weapon. In the end, it's all about balance. Know when to fight and when to let go. By choosing your battles wisely, you preserve your energy, maintain your integrity, and avoid getting caught in the toxic web of unnecessary drama. If you always act with truth and logic as your guide, you'll find that most toxic people will eventually lose their power over you. 9. Focus on the end result. When you're dealing with a toxic person, it's easy to get lost in the heat of the moment. Anger, frustration, and even sadness can take over, clouding your judgment and leaving you emotionally drained. Think about how many times you've confronted someone in the past, only to look back later and realize that it wasn't as big of a deal as you once thought. In the heat of the argument, emotions can feel so overwhelming, but when you step back, you often find that it wasn't worth the energy. It's a powerful realization that you can use to your advantage when facing toxic people in the future. As Marcus Aurelius once wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This means that if you focus on maintaining clarity of thought, especially when you're triggered, you can avoid falling into the emotional traps that toxic people often set. When you're caught in the whirlwind of a toxic person's negativity, you might feel as though you're spiraling, but let's pause for a moment and reflect. Do you really want to be swept up in their chaos? Emotions are often fleeting, and just a brief moment of pause, a simple 10 seconds of breathing or thinking, can make all the difference in how you respond. Take a deep breath, step away mentally from the situation, and ask yourself, what do I want the end result to be? Is this argument, this confrontation, really worth my time? Or is it simply another attempt by a toxic person to pull me into their drama? This kind of pause doesn't just help you regain control, it gives you the power to respond rationally instead of reacting emotionally. The truth is, toxic people thrive on manipulation, and emotions are their best tool. They know how to push your buttons, play on your insecurities, and get under your skin. But here's the secret. If you take control of your emotions, they lose their power. By simply taking that small moment to collect yourself, you disarm their ability to manipulate you. If you focus on the end result, on what you actually want from the situation, you'll realize that most of the time it's not worth getting emotionally involved. Rather than engaging in a battle of wills, you have the choice to disengage or to respond in a way that maintains your integrity and peace of mind. At the end of the day, it's about recognizing that emotions are temporary. Anger, frustration, sadness, they're all fleeting feelings that can be manipulated, but they don't have to define your actions. By focusing on the bigger picture, on the end result of how you want to feel and how you want to be seen, you can remain unaffected by the drama around you. 10. Forgive, but don't forget. Forgiving someone who has wronged you may feel like the hardest thing to do, but it's one of the most powerful acts of self-liberation you can offer yourself. In fact, forgiveness isn't about absolving the other person from their actions. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of negative emotions like anger, resentment, and hatred, which only serve to poison your own well-being. Think about it this way. When you hold on to grudges, you're allowing toxic people to continue affecting you, even long after the incident has passed. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay," emphasizing the importance of taking a step back before letting emotions dictate your response. Forgiving someone doesn't mean forgetting what happened, but it means choosing not to let it control your life. If you forget, you lose the opportunity to learn from the experience, and as a result, you may fall into the same traps again. It's crucial to recognize that forgiveness is for your own peace, not the offender's. The truth is, holding on to grudges only prolongs your suffering, and in some cases it can even make you as toxic as the person who hurt you. As difficult as it may be, forgiveness allows you to regain your emotional freedom and to move forward with clarity and strength. But here's the key. While you forgive, you must also remember. You don't need to dwell on the negativity, but acknowledging the lesson that came from the situation can help protect you in the future. By reflecting on the behavior of toxic people, you gain the wisdom to set clearer boundaries and make better decisions moving forward. It's like putting up a guardrail. You don't have to constantly worry about falling into the same trap because you've learned from the past and put measures in place to protect yourself. So, while forgiving someone is a necessary step toward emotional healing, don't make the mistake of forgetting the lessons learned from your experiences. What will you do next time you face a similar situation? Will you allow yourself to be consumed by negativity, or will you forgive, learn, and move forward with greater wisdom and strength? In the end, forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about reclaiming your peace and preserving your mental health while using the lessons learned to better protect yourself. As we wrap up today's video on 7 signs people are being totally fake with you, remember that true personal growth starts with recognizing these inauthentic behaviors and applying these Stoic principles to your own life. By focusing on what we can control, our reactions and the relationships we build, we can cultivate inner peace and authenticity. So, ask yourself, what signs of inauthenticity have you noticed in your life, and how will you handle them moving forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with anyone who might benefit. Keep striving for authenticity, stay grounded in your values, and thank you for watching Stoic in Your Life. Stay strong.